We are back with a Bible in a Minute, Genesis 37. And Genesis 37 really begins the story arc of Joseph, which will take the rest of Genesis. It'll go from Genesis 37 all the way to 50 as we go through the life of Joseph. And here, what we see in chapter 37 of Genesis is that Jacob loves Joseph more than his other sons. And he does that because Joseph and later Benjamin are the sons of his preferred wife, Rachel. So what does Joseph do? Well, he makes Joseph a multicolored coat, a long sleeve robe. And commentators say that this robe is typically worn by the foreman who doesn't work. He is the supervisor. And so this robe was intended to designate Joseph, the youngest at this point, the youngest son, as the supervisor for all of his older brothers. So you can see that already there's some animosity that's going to be built among the siblings because they don't appreciate that whatsoever. They couldn't talk to him in a civil manner because they began to despise him for his preferential treatment, or Jacob's preferential treatment of Joseph. And then when he would talk to them, they would hate him even more. He would have dreams, and he would share his dreams with his brothers, and that would make them hate him even more. So you can see that this hate is building to a climactic moment in this story. So his brothers are jealous of him, and he tells these dreams about the sun and moon and 11 stars all bow down to me. That's intended to be his father, mother, and his 11 brothers. He has the dream about the sheaves of wheat that bow down to him, and they're not liking this. The brothers are not liking it one bit. But verse 11 says that his father kept the matter in mind. He was like, maybe this is from the Lord. Dreams and visions had happened in past with Abraham, and so maybe this is something that is going to happen. And so his brothers decide that they're not putting up with this anymore. They see him coming at a distance in verse 18, and they decide before he even arrives, they're going to kill him. They're like, look, the dreamer's coming. Let's kill him. And they figure, all we got to do is take his robe, tear it up, put some blood on it, and then we'll say a wild animal killed him, and we'll be absolved of the guilt. Reuben, in verse 22, tells him, don't do this. Don't shed blood. Throw him in the pit, but don't lay hands on him. And in verse 20, at the end of 22, it says, because he intended to rescue Joseph, to restore him back, to restore him back to Jacob. Why? Why would Reuben, the oldest son, why would he choose to do this? Well, he would choose to do it because you'd have to go back and look at Genesis 35 verses 22. Reuben did some shenanigans that did not sit well with his father, Jacob. And so Reuben is trying to get back into his father's good graces, and he knows that if he restores Joseph to his father, he will accomplish just that. Well, Reuben leaves, right? While he's gone, the brothers decide, you know what, he's right. Let's not kill him. Let's sell him. And in verse 26, Judah is the one that comes up with the idea, there's no advantage if we kill him. We haven't profited anything. Come, let's sell him to the Ishmaelites, and then instead of putting him to death with our own hands, then whatever happens to him, we're absolved with. He's our brother, and so let's not kill him. So they decide to do that. They sell him for half a pound of silver shekels, which is 20 pieces. That's 2 silver pieces for each of the 10 brothers that are involved in this whole situation. Well, by the time Reuben comes back to the well, the cistern, Joseph is gone. And he tears his clothes. He's so upset. He was like, he's not there. What have you done? Where can I go now? Because he was banking his restoration of Joseph to Jacob on restoring himself back to Jacob, and now that is not an option any longer. So what they do is they take the robe, they rip it up, they dip it in goat's blood, and then they tell Jacob, Joseph, your son is dead. Is this his robe? We found this. Is it your son's or not? And of course, Jacob recognizes it's his robe, tears his clothes, weeps for his son, and he's got 10 more sons at this point. I can't remember if Benjamin has been born yet, but because Joseph is dead, he says at the end of the chapter in verse 35, "Now I will go down to the grave to my son in mourning," and his father wept for him. But the end of the chapter, chapter 37, ends with how Joseph gets taken by the Ishmaelites. He's sold to in Midian. He's sold to Potiphar, this one of Pharaoh's officials, who's the captain of the guard for the Pharaoh. So he's actually sold into Egyptian slavery and becomes a slave in Potiphar's household. And Potiphar is a very well-known and well-respected and he's got a high position within Egyptian society, and that is where Joseph lands at the end of chapter 37. That is chapter 37 of Genesis, Bible in a Minute.